don't think George is hurt. I think he's scared. I think he's scared to fight everybody right now.
The UFC has a long history of heated rivalries.
Welcome to the pre-funk of Anderson Silva's retirement party.
Chuck comes around the top. Chuck looking to close it out.
But none more personal than the conflict between John Jones and Dannielle Cormier.
No, you are the biggest I've ever seen, for sure.
He's looking at his superior, and he just can't handle it.
Your head's more in the clouds than I could ever.
You're my little.
I will beat your ass.
John Jones, the youngest champion in history.
This kid is the now generation.
Who took the MMA world by storm.
What John Jones is doing tonight, this is being John Jones.
And ruled his weight class for years.
An incredible performance by the champion.
Called out by the vociferous Olympic wrestler Dannielle Kромyé.
Wow, just complete ragdoll.
John Jones, no matter where you go, boy, I'm coming.
Who parlayed a Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix title into a run at the UFC Light Heavyweight belt.
Big right hand by Cormier.
Unbeaten in multiple divisions, Cormier could not stake his claim as the greatest of all time until he dethroned the consensus #1.
What this represents is the highest level competition we have ever seen inside the octagon.
He's great.
Good spinning elbow by John. Oh! Big kick by John. Good right hand by DC.
And although the two men battled to break one another's will inside the octagon, their differences were far from settled.
That so much to me. And I know if I was to lose, they would let me hear it. So I got a lot to say.
All right.
January 3rd, 2015 did not mark the end.
I know if he would have won, he'd been up here talking all types of trash. So I don't feel sorry for him. This is combat.
Instead, it was the beginning of a tumultuous road towards the rematch.
He's a bitch. He's a bitch.
Who was the bitch backstage?
He's a bitch ass.
You're hugging Cain Velasquez, crying on his shoulder. I'm the bitch.
You know what's the beauty in me being the competitor I am? I forgot about that. I'm about to whip your punk ass.
Oh, you forgot about it.
I'm gonna beat your punk ass.
Did you guys forget?
I never anticipated the animosity between us two was going to get to the point it's at now. At this point, you know, the trash talking is extremely personal.
I wish they would let me next door so I could spit in your face.
You know I would absolutely kill you if you ever did something like that,
You
right?
could never kill me.
Oh, I bet you I could. But at the end of the day, I won the fight. And like I always say, the guy who wins the fight, he wins the argument. So I constantly remind DC, I've kicked his ass.
Last time I foot swept you, held my hand on your head like you're my bitch. And this guy's supposed to be the Olympian.
More than 2 years have passed since their first contest. And with Cormier as champion today, the all-time great John Jones prepares as the challenger, ready to return to the pound-for-pound throne.
Cross hook, right knee.
I knew after the first fight was done that their stories and their past were far from being over.
Good, let's try left. I think John Jones is the best of all time in any weight division. I think Dannielle Kромyé is right there. I mean, look what he did in heavyweight, knocking people out.
They're two alphas. They're two of the greatest light heavyweight champions ever. And luckily enough, July 29th, we get to see these two go head-to-head once again.
I outworked him.
DC's got to get busier.
I outlast him.
He's looking to take him down again, and he does.
I believe I'll do it again.
In preparation for the rematch, the champion's California Super Camp has enlisted the help of Spanish heavyweight kickboxer Frank Munoz.
We will drill, change, softball, orthodoxo, everything. Doesn't matter what he does. Okay. You'll be prepared.
Whose body type and striking acumen closely emulate that of John Jones.
Easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the added presence to accompany former heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez, Cormier believes he has every look necessary to correct his shortcomings from the first contest.
The last time Daniel fought John, I feel like it was a close fight, first round or so.
But when they got to the championship round, you know, his experience in those situations really did show itself. He stayed the course longer than I did.
He's really taking it to DC.
He just needs to do what he does in here, DC can go out there and win it.
I've been sparring guys that are strikers at the highest level, so I'm a much better fighter today.
Since the moment the first fight ended, DC has been preparing for this rematch, which was originally scheduled for May 23, 2015 at UFC 187. But when training commenced, the next chapter in Jones's story of reckless behavior was written.
Breaking news just into Fox Sports 1. The UFC has stripped John Jones of his light heavyweight title and suspended him indefinitely after Jones is charged in a felony hit-and-run incident.
The UFC stripped the title.
This is a huge, huge moment for him and an opportunity of redemption.
And Daniel Cormier took advantage of the opportunity to not only seize the vacant belt,
It is all over! Daniel Cormier!
but defend it.
Over and over again. He's got guts that's him in trouble with those shots.
When he beat me, I got better. I won the belt.
With each victory, the absence of the pound-for-pound great loomed large.
John Jones, get together, I'm waiting for you!
And on July 29th, they will meet once again. Following an extended hiatus from MMA, John Jones completed legal proceedings for numerous indiscretions and returned to the octagon in April of 2016 to recapture his belt.
Returning for the first time in 476 days. John Jones is back.
But this time, it was Daniel Cormier who was not prepared to run it back. And Ovince St. Preux stepped in for the interim title fight while the champion recovered from injury.
For the winner by unanimous decision, John Jones!
Jones had his grasp on a UFC belt once again, but his sights were set on something greater.
I don't think I want that belt. It's not the real belt. I want my actual belt back.
And with that, the fight was booked again as the headliner for the historic UFC 200.
The biggest, baddest fight card in UFC history, UFC 200.
I'm done with all the talking and jibber and jabbering. I'm ready to fight.
But days before the event, another mistake by Jones shook the MMA world.
The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency has informed John Jones of a potential anti-doping policy violation. There's insufficient time for a full review before the scheduled bout, and therefore the fight has been removed from the fight card.
John Jones, perhaps the greatest fighter we have ever seen, would spend another year during the prime of his career watching from the sidelines.
The year was a big setback, but I think I was set back even farther in the eyes of people. In order for me to really gain people's trust back, I think winning the belt is going to be a huge step. I'm just planning on picking up exactly where I left off.
John Jones will resume a career that has displayed nothing but sheer dominance. With a commanding physical frame at 205 pounds, he's imposed his will with ease.
Through Rashad Evans. Oh, he tagged him. Nasty shots inside by John.
His fights were filled with slicing elbows and creative onslaughts.
What he does is be unpredictable.
But it's the bodies which flew across the octagon that has a particular following, anxiously awaiting his return.
The wrestling community is heavily involved in this fight. It's just about feeling it and going over it and feeling it, giving them the same looks that Cormier gives. There's a lot of wrestlers in America that are diehard wrestlers like John Jones, like myself. We had some bumps in the road and we didn't get to the highest level. And then there's a lot of guys like DC that found a way through it and actually made it to get to the highest level. That doesn't mean they're better wrestlers than we are.
The former champion's greatest grappling challenge came in his last title defense. The high-profile first meeting with Olympic wrestler Daniel Cormier.
The first time I fought DC, took him down a lot.
John, take it down, DC!
Got to win in the clinch, got to win in all the wrestling positions. It felt great being able to break a guy who no one has seen be broke.
DC's a captain Olympic team, and he's a role model. He's a great guy. So there's a lot of people hoping the role model wins, and there's a lot of wrestling people that hope, hey man, you know what? Let's just have the best guy win, and the best guy's John Jones.
As Jones seeks to stifle Daniel Cormier once again, the light heavyweight champion of today enters the confines of the American Kickboxing Academy and holds open the door for fellow members of the Wrestling Brotherhood willing to offer a helping hand.
We have a strong team, you know, and that's why we are where we are today. But sometimes you gotta outsource for the big fight.
Duke University All-American Jacob Casper is spending summer vacation in San Jose, a trip inspired back in North Carolina during wrestling practice with the Blue Devils.
We watched the previous Jones-Cormier fight as a team, and I was saying how I didn't really like Jones, didn't care for him, and a teammate said that's funny because you wrestle like him.
How do I break his posture?
You got to either move your feet hard, because he's coming like straight line, or switch to that over and under position. This kid, he's good, he's young, and he'll try to take Daniel out. He's not gonna hold anything back. It keeps Daniel on his toes, makes him work hard, and it just elevates his game.
With a refined wrestling strategy, DC is ready to represent the sport that shaped him in the rematch.
The wrestling community is like, we need you to beat this guy. These guys don't offer John that help, they offer me the help. I feel like I'm gonna whip this dude. And fight week will be normal again. Because for the last few fights, all the questions have been about John anyway.
Live inside KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York, this is UFC 210, Cormier versus Johnson 2.
The cloud of John Jones has hung over Cormier's entire title reign, and his most recent outing was no exception.
He has never been finished. He's 18-1, the only loss by decision to John Jones. Really looking to cement his championship legacy here tonight. One title defense against Alexander Gustafsson, looking to make good on a second one tonight.
Get up! The longer DC can keep this in a clinch situation, the better.
And a lot of people say until you feel Daniel Cormier in the octagon or in a training situation, you don't have a full appreciation for just how strong he is. Has his back.
Here we are again. Oh my goodness.
This is Wrestling 101. Wrist control, tight waist, grind him out.
Those right hands will count. Rumble better move.
He's under the neck.
There it is.
Oh my goodness.
That's it.
And there's the tap. Look like
Rumble
tap.
It's it.
And still, Daniel Cormier has done it.
Also in the room is John Jones.
Who? Don't talk to me about a guy that's ineligible. When he gets his academics in order, he can come back to the classroom.
In the high desert of Albuquerque, New Mexico, as another day begins, so continues training camp for the greatest fighter to ever live.
Drop it, bam, explode out of it.
John Jones exits every bout with no doubt that he is a better man, not only to himself, but also to those whose life's work is tarnished by what he has accomplished.
In order to be the best, you have to be a dream crusher, and that's what I am. I can't afford to feel sorry about anybody's dreams that I've crushed. You know, all the guys who thought they'd be like heavyweight champion one day and had to come to terms with the fact that that's never gonna happen.
But dominance in competition can only be sustained by discipline outside of it. And that is where Jones's biggest challenge lies.
He tested positive for cocaine and checked into rehab just last week.
Jones is charged in a felony hit-and-run incident.
Thrown in jail for a probation violation.
We have suspended him indefinitely, but you know what they say, the show goes on.
Nothing can be more disheartening to a former champion than seeing a man he vanquished seize everything he has ever worked for in the blink of an eye.
He's gonna tap.
It is all over! Daniel Cormier! It's the new UFC light heavyweight champion! John Jones, get your together, I'm waiting for you!
Daniel Cormier, Jones's greatest rival, and a man he once defeated, now holds the belt. And the stakes have increased tenfold.
Everything that I speak on is things that he has done. You know, most people will just ignore it, you know? I don't have to ignore it. If I want to say you're up, you're up. I'm not painting him out to be somebody that he's not.
None of us are perfect. He is just so high and mighty.
I've been sober. I haven't wrecked my vehicle. I didn't get stripped from my championship, but you boo me. Thank you. Thank you.
These people are here to see who's the baddest. You know, we're here to win fights. And that's what I've done consistently since day one.
Oh, man. I felt that through the bottom of the soles of my feet.
Come chase this real title and get beaten, I'll ship you back to Albuquerque.
But how can a champion stand tall, knowing his achievements were made possible not entirely by accomplishments in fighting, but by the shortcomings of his greatest adversary, and by the delayed return of the only man to defeat him?
At least I've been around to show something. Where the has he been?
That is true.
Where's this guy been? I'm here waiting for you. You know it.
His identity became being the UFC champion. And for 2.5 years, he has not been that.
He has the belt. He's not the champion.
Who are you to say who's the champion? You're some guy that doesn't even fight.
I don't know how he defines himself anymore.
This is who I was meant to be. What I was put on the planet to do. What better way to come back from adversity?
Is he back? Are you back, junkie? What's this guy gonna do to mess this up this time?
You know, DC doesn't like me because of my past. He's not gonna like me because of the future either. My best is yet to come.
Last time I was just fighting to win. This time I'm fighting to kick his ass.
On July 29th, at UFC 214, John Jones and Daniel Cormier will finally share the octagon again. And each man will get his opportunity to validate the boisterous claims of a quarter decade.
We all saw your bum ass fighting on Saturday. You show up like that, I'm gonna beat that ass. All right.
To show that he can rise from the ashes and prove his words to be true.
Either you have it or you don't, and throughout my whole career I've had it. So I'm gonna go get what's mine.
Come on, boy, let's go!
To represent his ideals to the world and lay claim to the title of pound-for-pound great. Even if only for a single moment, under the bright lights of the Honda Center.
UFC champ, Strikeforce champ, beat Anderson Silva and John Jones. If those guys are the two best of all time, then why not, DC?
He's not number one, and he never will be. He wasn't in college, he wasn't at the Olympics, and he wasn't in the UFC.
Former UFC champion. That's what he's remembered for. He doesn't get the belt back.